Musical Talk, the UK's independent musical theatre podcast. Hello and welcome to Musical Talk. I'm Thos Ribbits, and you will obey me. And that, of course, is the catchphrase of The Master. Now, if you're more musically theatre-minded, when I say the words The Master, you'll think of Noel Coward. But if you're more Doctor Who-oriented, you'll think of the Doctor's arch-nemesis, The Master, played on television last by John Sim. But if you're one of those lucky people who loves both musical theatre and Doctor Who, and I rather hope you are, because if you're not, the next two episodes really aren't going to thrill you very much, the phrase The Master will conjure up both to you. And that was a very hackneyed way of setting out one's stall today for this episode of Musical Talk, because unless you've been hiding under a rock, if you're somewhere in the English-speaking world, you're probably aware that the fantastic science fiction television programme Doctor Who has just turned 50. And indeed, there was a very special episode broadcast on the anniversary itself, that's the 23rd of November 2013, the 50th birthday, in 94 countries as a simulcast. And that's just been recognised by the Guinness Book of Records as a world record. So, never one to miss a bandwagon. And for those of you who are musically minded, when I use the phrase the bandwagon, I don't mean the musical show by Schwartz and Dietz, or indeed the film of that show featuring Fred Astaire and Jack Buchanan. I indeed mean the bandwagon, which has been the whole cavalcade of celebrations for Doctor Who. Now, anyone who's listened to this programme for any length of time will be acutely aware that many of its contributors have a great deal of affection for this character and for this television programme. They are separatable. And Doctor Who is very regularly mentioned by almost everyone who's appeared on this programme, and indeed occasional presenter Martin Ball has appeared in the new series on television. Well, today we decided that it would be about time to look at one of the very few areas of Doctor Who study which really hasn't had a great deal of attention in the last 5 decades, and that's Doctor Who musicals. Now, there is a very good reason for this, and that is that there haven't been many. Indeed, it can be argued that there haven't been any. But that would mean a very dull 2 episodes coming up. So, we have decided to look at any show that sort of comes into the bracket of Doctor Who musicals. Now, before we go any further, I think it's important to rule out what we don't want. Shows which might be deemed to be Doctor Who musicals but really aren't. The first of these would be the 1980s pantomimes, which were produced for stage at Christmas time by the then producer of the BBC television series Doctor Who, John Nathan Turner, featuring many of the stars, including Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Nicola Bryant and Anthony Ainley, who incidentally played the Master. There we are, we've gone full circle back to the beginning of the programme, and I'm also fully aware that using the phrase full circle also references a 1980s television episode of Doctor Who. Gosh, this could be quite a long episode if you're really not into it, but we'll carry on regardless, we'll plough on. So, we're not talking about those pantomimes. We're also not talking about Trock. I don't know if you're aware of Trock. It's TARDIS rock, and it's an internet phenomenon by which fans create rock and pop songs all about the Doctor. And indeed, there's been a recent radio documentary about that on BBC Radio 1. I should probably also rule out the Doctor Who story called Planet Bollywood, which, although it is a musical of sorts, won't be counted today because it's actually a comic book story, written by Jonathan Morris, with art by Roger Langridge and colours by James Afridi. You can catch this one-off comic strip in episode 424 of the Doctor Who magazine, and read how the 11th Doctor, played by Matt Smith, and Amy visit an all-singing, all-dancing planet. But of course, there's one problem with a musical which is only appearing on the printed page, and that is, well, you just can't hear it, so we're ruling that out as well. We're also ignoring Doctor Who spoofs. For example, Craig Ferguson, who presents the American TV programme The Late Late Show, opened an episode in January 2011 with a singing, dancing homage to Doctor Who. There's been lots of that kind of thing, and we're not going to pick any of that up either. And finally, although we will touch on episodes which have featured music, we're not going to be looking at Doctor Who stories which have just had a song incidentally in the background, not actually sung out to you. Although there is one exception to that, which we'll touch on later, which is Doctor Who and the Gunfighters, where a song was used as a narrative device to drive the story forward, or to at least let you know what had happened in the previous episodes. But that's not really a Doctor Who musical. Incidentally, I should also rule out hoaxes. For example, on the 18th of December 2008, the Daily Telegraph ran a story called "Tennant Could Star in Doctor Who Musical." And I quote the article, "David Tennant suggests there could be a musical Doctor Who." The 37-year-old actor, this is in 2008, hinted an all-singing episode of the hit show could be a possibility. Tennant, who will next be seen in a BBC Christmas Day special, is due to leave the show in 2010. But he has 4 more specials to record in the new year before the 11th Time Lord takes over. Doctor Who mastermind Russell T Davies, remember this is a few years ago, who is a fan of classic Hollywood musicals, especially Doris Day's Calamity Jane, wants to bow out with a showstopper, it is understood. Tennant said Doctor Who the musical has been mentioned. Well, I think we can take that with a very sizable pinch of salt and rule it out of our investigations. There have always been claims and counterclaims about Doctor Who, notably about the casting, and they're nearly always inaccurate. So having stripped out all of that, what are we left with? Well, over the next 2 weeks we're going to be concentrating on what I think are the 5 Doctor Who musicals. We could be wrong, it's almost impossible to tell, and if you're aware of others, do let me know. Write to feedback@musicaltalk.co.uk and we'll see what we can find out. But the 5 I think are worth investigating are I Need a Doctor, the unauthorised Whosical adventure, Doctor Who the Musical and Doctor Who and the Dalek Companion, which are 2 3 to 4 minute musicals, bite-size I think you can say, created by a company called AV Byte, B-Y-T-E, Productions, and are available on YouTube. There's Doctor Who and the Pirates by Jacqueline Rayner, which is an audio adventure of Doctor Who, which features some songs. And finally, Doctor Who the Ultimate Adventure, a show from 1989, which has also been re-recorded recently by the company Big Finish as an audio recording, including those songs, and is actually the one show of those 5 which people generally stand up and say, oh, that's the Doctor Who musical. Now, whilst we'll be touching on Doctor Who The Ultimate Adventure during this episode, next week's episode is devoted purely to that show, and so I do hope that you'll hang around and listen to interviews with both Jason Haigh-Ellery, who directed it recently for the Big Finish audio version, and with Stephen Edis, the musical director currently going great guns in London and acting as musical director in the fantastic Hackney Empire musical Puss in Boots this year, that's their Christmas pantomime, who was the composer and indeed musical director for Doctor Who The Ultimate Adventure in 1989. So stay tuned for that next week. So where does that leave us today? Well, with 4 musicals to get through, let's get going. And I'm pleased to say we're going to be able to start with a song, because the first show we're going to look at in detail today is I Need a Doctor, the unauthorised Whosical adventure. Now, technically speaking, this is a Doctor Who musical, but not quite. In fact, its very conceit is that it cannot be about Doctor Who, because that would breach BBC copyright. You may remember that actually we featured an interview with the 2 people behind this during the Edinburgh Fringe this summer in 2013, and I played an extract of a longer interview which I conducted with them about the show in August. Well, today you're going to hear that much fuller interview with them to get a much better sense of that show and hear some of the songs. But here's what the Edinburgh Fringe website said about that show to describe it. Doctor-loving nerd Jamie and his faithful companion Jess decide to write a musical about their time-travelling hero, but things don't quite go to plan. Now they must battle with evil exterminators and dancing cyber-gents, all whilst cunningly avoiding a BBC copyright infringement. Will they manage to escape unscathed? Who's the strange mucus monster that loves to burst into song? And how can they rewrite an entire musical in just 1 hour? This sharply comic Whosical parody features original songs including I Need a Doctor, Companion's Lament and Phone Box of Love. Well, let's hear that interview with Jamie and Jess from that show, but first, one of the songs. Musical Talk.
I never thought I'd meet someone I could share my time with, but I'm starting to think maybe I was wrong. Fighting a a psychic, and you were right beside me all along. So follow me if you don't want to hurt my pride. We'll travel the galaxy as we go for a ride in my phone box of love, a gift from up above. Let's fly off to the stars and disappear. It can be any color, cause we ain't feeling blue. Step in my phone box, girl, it's waiting for you.
When I first met you, I thought you were kind of crazy, perhaps a little messed up in the head. But after that slimy monster tried to faze me, I knew I'd rather be with you instead. So let's go, I'll let you be my guide. Open the door and I'll jump inside your
Phone box of love, a gift from up above. Let's fly off to the stars and disappear. It can be any color, cause we ain't feeling blue. Step in my phone box, girl, it's waiting for you. Ready together to face any kind of trouble.
always safe inside our little loved-up bubble.
No more monsters that we cannot handle. No, not while we stand so strong in this phone box of love. Phone box of love, a gift from up above. 'Cause 3 hearts are stronger than one. If people don't get it, we'll forget them all. 'Cause we love our phone box and we won't let her fall. Ba-da-dum.
I'm James Wilson Taylor.
And Jessica Spray.
We are in I Need a Doctor, the unauthorised Whosical adventure at Pleasance Beside at Pleasance Courtyard for Edinburgh Fringe 2013. And it is a really fun show about 2 people trying to put on a big musical about Doctor Who before the BBC try and put a stop to it, so they have to change all the characters just enough so they don't get sued for copyright infringement.
So James wrote the songs and the lyrics, so the music and the lyrics, and we both co-wrote the script together, workshopped the script and everything together.
Yeah.
So we're joint, and we're both in it, actors in it as well.
Yeah.
Now, how did you get this idea in the first place? Very simple first question, really.
Well, it was you at first, wasn't it? Because we had in our final unit when we were studying at GSA in Guildford about a year and a bit ago. The final unit was coming up for something for yourself, about 10 minutes of something that you could just develop and see what
Showcase
happens.
piece.
Absolutely, and yeah, Jess kind of suggested, because we both like Doctor Who, if there was some way we could do something interesting with that. And yeah, it kind of came out with a rough 10 minutes of what we have now,
Yeah.
really. Yeah. Yeah, and it's just kind of kept developing it since then.
When, unlike a Dalek, did you realise it had legs?
I'm not sure. It was when it went down really well, the 10
Yeah.
minutes that we did. It was quite unusual, I think. I hadn't seen a Doctor Who musical before. Although
There are
there's
not that many.
No, but there's
A
things
rare
like
breed.
people write sort of original songs around Doctor Who and stuff, which I thought was quite
Plenty
fascinating.
of trock, isn't it? Is that
Yeah,
right?
That's
yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yes.
Yep. And I thought that we could just develop it, couldn't we? So
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Edinburgh as well, and I've always wanted to do something on the Fringe. So this seemed like a good opportunity to have something that is. I think it's very, very Fringe friendly, very family friendly, which is
it is.
great for a kind of Pleasance audience as well, and hopefully developing onwards after August. You know.
Well, it was a good demographic in the audience when I came.
Yeah,
And
nice mix.
I've been to several. I had to say, I'm a Doctor Who fan, as listeners will know. But I've been to several Doctor Who related shows. This Fringe, there's more this year than I've seen ever. I think, actually, to be honest.
I think it's the 50th anniversary, isn't
Yeah.
it?
It is revving it
They're
up
all
a
coming
bit,
out the woodwork.
which is where we live. But there are. The demographic in the audience is very different to what it would have been if you'd done this 10 years ago,
Sure.
or possibly 12 years ago. You would have generally got people like me, middle-aged men, with other men with them. You wouldn't necessarily have got children and women, forgive me, I have to say.
Absolutely.
You know,
No,
it's,
absolutely.
as a franchise on television, it's opened up immensely.
I think it's incredible the amount of because as we were saying the other day that we've got a lot of teenage girls who just absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the Peter Capaldi announcement and how that would maybe affect the demographic because of all the people that came in with maybe David Tennant even.
Yes.
So I think it's fascinating how,
Yeah.
as you say, the demographic has completely changed.
I think there's something.
such
It's
recent years.
nice with the shows. I think we've put in enough in for the old fans of an old generation, but we are children of New Who,
Yeah.
very much
That
so.
was a
so
question
it's
I was
nice.
going to have, but there was a celery mention, so...
Well, yeah, we tried to
And
fit
we're
in
wearing
enough
the scarf,
references.
the Tom Baker scarf.
Indeed, there's enough references to go around for the 50 years, but we are very much. I mean, yeah, I came on board with Eccleston and then Tennant in a big way, and I think that's. It's interesting you say that with all the children that have been coming in and teenage girls and everything. It is nice to have something for the new generation there as well.
But there's a serious business case here. You know, we joke that there aren't many Doctor Who musicals, and there may be good creative reasons for that, but also there has been good commercial reasons for that. Because frankly, at the end of the day, if you were only going to bring in the 40-year-olds, you probably weren't going to make any money.
Sure.
So, you know, I mean, I appreciate Fringe is a slightly different thing, and no one actually does it to make money, although it's nice if you do. But, you know, seriously, getting a full audience which genuinely reflects society is something you can now do, which possibly you didn't. I mean, were you thinking this at the time, or were you just thinking when you did your first sort of 10-minute version, this is, you know, people are really responding to this, let's just see, where we can take it?
I think it was an element of that. I mean, we did get really nice responses after that, and it was also the fact that, I mean, like I say, as children of New Who, I think we're part of that generation with the Star Kid guys in America doing Potter musical. And there's that idea that you can get up and, if you are a fan of something, kind of pay tribute to that way, and hopefully in a rather clever way. I think we've got a nice twist on it with the.
It was
copyright
interesting
infringement.
because when we were originally sort of talking about it, we thought, could we just do a direct adaptation, so 45 minutes of, like, there's been an on-stage version of Midnight and things, and so we thought, could we do a direct, like something like The Girl in the Fireplace? But then we thought,
Good luck with that.
well,
Yeah,
exactly,
well, indeed.
exactly. So we,
How
but
are
then
your
we
horse
thought,
skills?
and then so that was how the copyright thing
Yeah, of course.
came up, because you just can't do it. When they did Midnight on stage, they had to take out the Doctor, and so it was just a man on a spaceship, and it's so difficult
If
to
you
try
embrace the
and actually dodge that.
restrictions, that's it, isn't it? You
And
embrace it and run with it.
that's where the comedy comes from, I think.
But this is an old trope, isn't it? In any kind of creativity, that, you know, restrictions actually make inventiveness. You know?
Play
Yeah.
that goes wrong,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
It's great,
definitely.
yeah.
Which is one of the big
Indeed,
surefire comedy hits.
Sure it is. Yeah.
So, when you realised that you had these constraints, and I think of it, you spotted very early. In fact, you stated more or less overtly that by not talking about something directly, you are talking about something directly.
Sure.
And that is it's a fine line to balance. You carried off with aplomb, if I may say.
Oh, thank you very much.
And a great deal of romping humour, I suppose is probably the best way to describe it.
Romping, that's going on the poster now.
You may have
Romping
that.
humour.
But it is. I mean, I think that's a fair way of describing it.
I would very
Yes,
much agree.
definitely.
It's got great heart from the beginning, and you carry it all the way through. It doesn't outstay its welcome, which is always pleasing. Some shows are just 10 minutes or possibly an hour and a half too long, and this wasn't.
Good.
So, you've got these constraints, and when did that, in the process, was that early on you realised that was that in the sketch, as it were?
Was it even a realisation? I think it was just something we sort of played around with, and we realised, well, if we want to do it on a big commercial stage, obviously you can't do an official BBC licence thing.
No.
So I think we just kind of saw the comic potential in the idea and ran with it, really. And it's a happy coincidence that it's kind
It's
of
interesting
worked out
because
that way.
our original story was that Jamie had been to Comic-Con
Oh yes.
and got mugged and fell over, hit his head, and ended up in a fantasy world in which he was
woke
the
up
Doctor.
and thought I was the Doctor,
and
yeah.
Jess,
Doesn't that
as
happen on
his
a daily
best
basis
friend,
for some
Yeah, that's
became
it,
the
that's it.
companion. And then at the end, he sort of woke up.
Yeah, I sort of woke up. It was when we tried to get to the point where I could wake up. It didn't really work because it was a bit kind of Dallas man coming out the shower type moment.
You were there, and you were there.
You
all a
were
bit
all
Wizard of Oz.
there, and you were different. Yeah, no, it was interesting.
I think it was after that we sort of thought, well, we were really struggling to actually stretch it because it was all a bit.
Well, I have to say,
bit
it's been,
strange.
one of the best influences has been. We've got a producer, Anna Haig, who's really got behind it, and the Pleasance have really got behind
Yeah.
it, which has been fantastic.
Really
And then
nice.
also a director, Ben Occhipinti, who's really helped us shape it and make it into a kind of more professional state, which has
Yeah.
been amazing. He's been a real asset to the team.
But you could have done all this without making it a musical. So when did that little gem drop on the scheme of?
Well, it had to be a musical. Didn't
Yeah,
it, when we first did it?
I think
Oh,
we
we
just
set
love
out
musicals
that.
too much. That's it. We could not
The
do
level
it.
of loving musicals is in excess of what's healthy. I don't know.
How can we possibly
I do not
understand this?
understand.
We did the MA
That's not
musical
compute,
theatre, so we had to write a musical, 10-minute musical.
Yeah, there was
piece.
something
So it was
there.
always envisaged in that sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think in that original the original project there, they were saying like it had to involve music in some state, and I, yeah, indeed, you'd think, wouldn't you? And we just kind of ran with that. But you know, I think it's surprising actually. There is a very large crossover audience of musical theatre and Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Well, there is, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we could touch upon this directly if you liked. I mean, certainly historically, particularly on the classic Who,
Well,
when
indeed.
when we were talking about the demographic, there is something in that demographic, let's be honest. There's an awful lot of gay men
Well,
followers.
indeed.
And musical theatre has, for some other reason, also attracted gay men over the years. So yes, you're right, there is that massive...
I think
in
beyond-
the Venn diagram of life, there's a huge...
Sure. I think beyond that as well, though, we talk about the massive teenage girls audience. I think it is the
These
idea
massive
of...
teenage girls you're talking about.
I feel like a member of One Direction at the minute. That's what I'm saying,
no.
basically. No jokes. It's interesting with them, I think, again, going back to the likes of StarKid, I think it's the idea of these fantasy worlds, and, you know, it's what musical theatre is all about, isn't it? It's going off into this kind of fantasy world, and I think that's what people like about it, really.
It's become cool, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it really has. Last few years, certainly.
With the massive film adaptations of things like Les Mis
Yeah.
and Sweeney Todd, and
Chicago,
I think
even,
definitely,
yeah.
I think it's definitely become
Opening it up a bit more,
cool.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, High School Musical brought in, if I may say, particularly in terms of demographic, the teenage girl
Sure.
audience,
Yeah.
and they've stayed. You know, Wicked then came along, and everyone
Absolutely,
was there forever.
yeah. And we made sure there's a few Wicked references in our show,
Well,
just for the fans.
Let us touch upon some of the references in your show. I seem to remember lions and tigers and bears.
Well,
Oh,
yes.
my.
Oh, indeed. Yeah, there's a bit of there's a nice little Lion King gag, which works for both Who fans and musical theatre
Yeah.
fans, so that was very nice.
And children, actually,
Indeed,
because
and
they've all seen
children.
the film.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was good. Yeah, we've got a Les Mis parody where not to give away too much, but where I play two characters at war with each other by wearing two different sides of two jackets sewn together. And do some drastic switches a la David Hasselhoff and Jekyll and Hyde, which always gets a big laugh, which is
Always
nice.
gets a big laugh.
Well, I
yeah.
tell you what, that works at several levels, because, you know, the people who know what actually happened with
Yeah.
the Hoff and Jekyll and Hyde, and then there are the people who just think, oh, David Hasselhoff, that's funny. and it is.
Yeah, well, it's the mere mention of the words John Barrowman seems to get a laugh
Yeah,
every night, which
people
is
love
wonderful.
the Barrowman.
You get that straight away, because it starts with a series of telephone rejections, really, on your answering machine, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Yes, it
Sets from
does.
John Barrowman, whose
Yeah.
message goes on and on and on and on, and is cut off by the timeout on your telephone. And you get a huge laugh in the beginning, and I think you've done that clever thing. You know, forgive me, some people don't know that they're allowed to laugh until they've been given license to do so.
Sure.
But you have done that so quickly and so easily, before you're even on stage, that actually people know precisely what they're going to get. In that sense, it's been nicely designed.
Good. No, I think it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Especially at something like The Fringe, where you're coming to see a Doctor Who musical, you don't necessarily know what to expect. I think we were very conscious about setting the tone. This is a big, fun, very silly, comedic show.
Yeah.
Something in it for everyone, we hope, and very open to families and kids. So if we start off with a few very big gags, including John Barrowman singing Being Alive and getting cut off by an answer phone, I think we know where we are for the next hour.
Cardboard dog poo.
Yeah, and a kind of
There you
cardboard
go.
dog, you're doing
Something for
metal
everyone.
poo. Something for
Yeah, all
everybody.
human life is there.
Very true, very true.
So, let's talk about the music. Now, you developed the story together, but Jamie, you're the composer and lyricist.
Yes, well, no, I before I went to GSA, I did a music degree at University of Manchester, so my piano skills were somewhat busky, but there. And I
You
just...
can appear in once. Then.
Well, that's it. Yes. I'm working at my once edition now. Get John Doyle on the phone for Actor Muso. No, it was an interesting project, and the songs kind of came about. We knew what we wanted to do lyrically in certain places, and I kind of started with the lyrics there and worked out melodies. And I mean, I'm from very much the Alan Menken school of musical theatre in a lot of
profit
ways.
making.
And indeed, yes, I like money, is what I was saying there. No, I love that kind of the simplicity of it, but it's got a nice little clever twist in everything he does. So I tried to do that. And then Chris Dickens, who was wonderfully our head of the MA course at GSA and has just been in Kiss Me Kate, the old Vic. He's a fantastic actor. He helped me out with a lot of the kind of arrangements for the piano pieces, and we kind of took it from there. And then we're lucky to have the wonderful Ed Bussey accompanying us on piano at every show, who is a genius. And
He's also a
very pleased with
comic
that.
genius, if I may
Yes.
say.
He really is.
Because his face tells you so much
He
about
is
what's
a
going
scene
on.
stealer.
Yes, is he not? Also, his shall we say 1970s sort of Bond Tempe Doctor Who theme busking moment halfway through gets it, because it does. People aren't actually expecting it to be the theme.
Absolutely,
it sounds like
yeah.
some kind of sort of average. Hello, I'm a filler.
Nice
And
little
then
extra
it isn't.
surprise,
Yes.
indeed. No, he's been fantastic, yeah.
But bearing in mind you both have this musical theatre background, and this was set as a musical theatre writing test in its first iteration, shall we say, and it's clear from the conversation that you know your onions when it comes to the back
Indeed.
catalogue of musical theatre. When you approached writing the score, How did you do that? Did you say we're going to have a pastiche number here, or I mean, because they're not per se pastiche numbers, are they?
Well, no, yeah, in places.
The narrative draws it more, I'd have said, than the music.
Sure.
But, you know, what approach did
Well,
you take
for the
score?
original 10 minutes, I mean, we knew roughly what characters we wanted to have, so I figured, okay, we'll need an introduction song for our Doctor character, which became I Need a Doctor, not the Doctor, because of copyright. So that became that song, and that was just a set of lyrics first, and then playing around with kind of riffs and things and seeing how that would become clear. And then I think we had Companions Lament, which I knew I wanted to do a kind of lament-style song, which is nice because the companions are so overlooked often in Doctor Who. So it was a nice moment for Jess to kind of go on a little rant in the middle of the show. So that was there, and a big Disney villain, Alan Menken-style number with hints of Phantom called King of the Slime emerged as well, which was an ominous tango.
You say hints, if I must say.
Okay, blatant nods, fine.
Well, I was going to say Bloody Great Dollops, but you know, it's, even down to the green mask. You know, you had a half mask, didn't you?
Indeed. Got to throw in those musical theatre references. But no, yeah, so we had that, and then it was called TARDIS of Love back then, but now it's called Phone Box of Love.
TARDIS.
Yeah, we did indeed.
Back in the good old days.
Lots of wonderful 70s style cardboard props for Doctor Who fans everywhere. Yeah.
Your K9 is cereal boxes. I mean, that's what it
Oh,
looks
it's
like.
great. It's great. No, I
Sorry,
do
your
enjoy
K10,
that.
I do.
K10, of
Yes,
course.
I'm so sorry. Or K-Tel, yes.
Yes, indeed. No, it's I think we like the low-tech vibe. I think has been going down quite well. It's nice. It's a nice kind of theme to hang on. Nice in the history of Doctor Who, certainly, as well. You can do big things with big imagination and little money.
Yeah,
it's good.
definitely.
Well, actually, it gives you the contrast to, as you've been talking about, New Hugh. Do you know him?
Nice guy.
It makes the contrast with New Who, because if you had been doing this 15 years ago, 20 years ago, you would have been making a great play on the cheap budget that you were operating on, being the same as the television, or possibly exceeding the television,
Sure.
which is never true. But you know, it's a popular conceit, that one. Whereas now you could not possibly ever argue that about current Doctor Who. But you know, money is clearly being thrown at it.
No, absolutely.
It is a cash machine because cash comes out the other end. I understand. Thank you, BBC. But you know, so in a sense, you've got that hark back to at least the perception of the old school. So once again, that gives you that sort of full range connection.
Yeah, I just think that was something we were looking at, just to sort of play around again with the comedy element of it. That it was just something that they'd put on, because when we started off, we were two people doing like a vlog, and it was going to be like in our bedroom. So we always wanted that sort of homemade, pick up the duvet and do this, and then in that sort of way. And I think it really works with the cardboard, as if we're just sort of playing around, and something that they've all made themselves out of love.
Yeah, it complements the theme, doesn't it? Of it's just all meant to be suddenly altered because of a BBC copyright infringement. It's nice that it almost seems like, right, no, I'm putting this all together now and painting it backstage. It's adds the humour.
But at the heart of it, there is a relationship between a man and a woman.
Sure.
Which is, it reflects Doctor Who, but also reflects almost every other piece of musical theatre in the world. And that was in from the beginning. I mean, you've known each other long enough and clearly were friends to start writing together.
Yeah.
So, and may one ask how much of the stage Jamie and Jess are the real Jamie and Jess?
It's
and do you wear a kilt at home?
I do. Well, it is my kilt. I will say that. That is definitely my kilt.
Well, Jamie should wear kilts.
I think that as it is indeed. But I think that I'd be lying if I didn't say there's a lot of exaggerated elements of my personality in the rather egotistical man that's running around on a performer's power trip, which is wonderful. But no, I think it's a nice relationship. We always decided we wanted to be, at least for some of the show, just ourselves, didn't we?
Yeah. So we were trying to get the sort of the two worlds, if you like. Yeah. So it was sort of us and then the characters.
Collide.
Yeah, exactly. But they were definitely, they're us, aren't they? There's no...
Oh, yeah. And it's nice for the audience as well, I think, to get on board because they're fans of the show. It's nice for them to see that we are also fans of the show. So if you begin it as versions of Jamie and Jess, I think it's nice to, again, kind of get them to enter the world we're going into.
So I always love the thing about that the companion is us in the TARDIS, in the show. So I always like that as a... sort of starting point, so then it's us, and then we go into this whole...
Do you buy that, though? Because I think, you see, because you always said childhood, you say in the piece, I actually think this is, it's a throwaway, but it's I think one of the most touching moments, certainly if you're a boy, or by which I mean man, childhood dream to play the Doctor. I think we've all entertained that, if you've been a lifelong fan. So it's interesting that you talk, if I may say, about the companion being the connecting point, but I think I don't know if it's just a boy thing, but I think boys project onto the Doctor. Yeah,
only because he's sort of this alien figure who's sort of all knowing and all knowledgeable, and whereas the companion is the one that's amazed and astounded, and sort of how I suppose I would react if I were in the TARDIS.
Sure.
So I don't know, really.
Well, in fairness, all men are from Mars and women are from Venus.
Well,
so
there you
I'm
go.
told.
No, sure. No.
Because your personal relationship, certainly fictionally, is the heart of this, and anyway, it goes through the ups and downs as well, which, as you say, you don't always see, or you do see more these days than you used to in the programme. But that's not deliberate, is it? Or it is your friendship that comes first and last in this, and it gets put under strain by the cosplay, shall we say?
Yeah.
No, indeed. Like I say, I think it was just a nice opening point for the audience if they can see that it's us, and yes, we are fans of the show, and it just sets it up as a nice tribute piece that I think it is, really. I think if we'd come out straight away as the Doctor and our non-BBC copyrighted companion Fiona McFeisty, to give her a full title, then I think
Scots
people
and
might...
Feisty, then.
Indeed, yeah, that's it.
Who?
Yeah, who could we possibly be referencing there? Yeah.
Adric. Anyways.
No, I think it just lets the audience in and kind of come on board with us. See that we're like you guys. We love the show, and that's why we're doing this.
So let's talk about audience response. It seemed very full on the day I went to see, and you were sold out as well.
Yeah, there's been quite a few sellouts. It's been it's sold very, very well. We've been really happy, and really nice positive audience reactions. Great reviews actually. Yeah, 4 stars Fringe Guru, 4 stars Broadway Baby. BBC came down, and the quote I've been saying to everyone is they liked us so much they promised not to sue us, which is a quote on the poster now, and it's wonderful. It's the best endorsement. Yeah. I really love that. Yeah, Broadway World loved it. It's been really, really nice, and especially for our first Fringe, I don't think we could have asked for better, really. Yeah.
But one learns from an audience, of course, because every show is different and they react in different ways. Have you had vastly different responses from audiences? Have you found things in the show that you felt you've had to tweak, or things that have gone down really well, which you had, thought were good, but weren't necessarily going to be the showstopper?
We did our work in progresses in the Pleasance in Islington at the end of June, wasn't it?
Sure. I think it was after that we kind of started.
And it was after that we sort of, because they went down really well as well, but we just tweaked. There was a bit of a sticky moment in the middle that we tweaked around, and I just find every single day there's people laugh at different things and
they really
things.
Do.
Yeah, and sometimes you get a really quiet audience, and sometimes they're really loud, and sometimes there's lots of children who really enjoy it, and sometimes you literally play it differently every single time.
Sure. Which is what keeps it alive. I think it is always the energy between the two of us that gets it going, and that's why I think it's nice that we come out as ourselves at the beginning and just do this big setup, big high energy, and then they come with you, and then by the end they're always cheering and getting very excited, which is really nice. It's great to see for us as well. It's the first thing we've written, and then to have such nice reactions, it's been great.
Can you tell, by the way, I have to ask this, if you've got more classic fans in the audience or more new fans in the audience? Does the style of responses let you know, we've got the old men in today?
Well,
Celery always gets a massive
it does,
laugh.
actually.
Always.
Yeah, now you
no
mention
matter
it.
who it is.
Celery and Jelly Babies gets big laughs,
And indigestion if you take them together.
Well, indeed. No, you always see, there's always a few people in the back that they seem to be nice and calm, but that you always get a nice smile and a nod on certain lines, like, yes, I understood that reference. Very good. Well done. But yeah, no, but what's nice actually is you get a lot of kids raised on New Who and their parents who remember it back in the day kind of coming together, which is a lovely thing, because there is something in it for everyone, which is great.
It's like Gilbert and Sullivan these days. It's a hereditary hobby.
Well, absolutely, yeah. No, it's nice. It's really nice to see the kind of mix of ages. It's been great.
Now, taking us back to the songs, how easy are they for you to perform? Because you have a recorded background, don't you? You don't have live performance on this occasion. There are intrinsic problems with singing along to a backing track, which is if you lose your way.
No, we've got Ed, obviously.
Oh, of course, that's true.
That's true. Oh, he's playing the piano all the way through.
That's the whole thing.
It does come through the speakers, but he's playing it.
So I saw there was an element of live. I'm sorry, I assumed there was other stuff as well. I thought there's a much fuller sound than I thought.
Oh, yeah. No, that's Ed all the way through. We're very talented Ed Bussey all the way through on that one, yeah.
So how did you... when did he come on board? Was he there from the beginning? Or?
We've had the most ridiculous luck with our pianists. It's been like drummers in Spinal Tap recently. It's ridiculous. So we had the lovely Tom Theakston, who's just started on the Wicked tour, hence why he's not with us today. And then he was then replaced by the lovely Henry. He messed up his fourth finger, unfortunately.
And he's a professional pianist.
He is. Yes, it's a shame. I think he's on the road to recovery now, so it's all right. But then we had another replacement, Richard, very briefly, who couldn't make some rehearsals. So then we had the lovely Ed Bussey coming in at the last minute, and I'm so glad we found him because he's amazing.
So you've had more regenerations of pianists than you have.
Absolutely. They've been going left, right and centre. Yeah, no, just one of those things. But he's been great, really, really great.
And is it just by chance that he has these sort of comic, sort of deadpan skills and, audience reaction stuff.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, what's his background? I mean, he's playing with Le Gâteau Chocolat this year as well, and News Review. So he kind of
he's busy.
Yeah, he's in a lot of kind of more comedic aimed shows, which is great.
Now, performance. You both are putting on a slightly heightened performance, and well,
Just slightly.
I hope I'm not in any way insulting you by saying that.
Just slightly.
I wasn't
That
getting
was my
realism.
Shakespeare.
And there's forgive me, you are, if you like, the linchpin for the audience because your character stays the same all the way through. And as exactly as you said earlier, they are the connection.
Yeah.
And you, if I may say, Jamie, are playing everyone.
Yep.
Including two people at once, I should say.
Oh, absolutely.
As well as an assortment of robots and villains.
Indeed.
I suppose the question is, how easy is it? How resentful are you that you've got to stay in one character? How resentful are you that you can't?
Well, I'll let you take that one.
Well, we always joke because I never go off, apart from when I storm out at the end.
Yes, you make a proper exit through the entrance.
Yeah, and so we always joke about, well, I'd rather not be going off all the time to change my costume. So, but no, I quite like that she stays the same all the way through. I think if we were both messing about, it would be very confusing. So I think it's quite nice that she's always the same. Yeah.
Yeah, there was one of the reviews compared it to almost like there's a Steve Coogan film called Hamlet 2 where he just goes on this egomaniacal trip and takes over every role, and they said there's kind of an Alan Partridge vibe to our ridiculous musical, which is great, and I love doing all the ridiculous costumes because they just get a nice especially we've got these pre-recorded announcements to kind of set up how we've changed the character just enough, so the cyber-gents or the exterminators rather than the obvious. So that's always nice, and it's always nice just seeing the reaction when you come out in another ridiculous outfit from behind the curtain because people are anticipating what they want to see. It's great fun.
Well, I'm going to pay great compliments on the cyber-gents. I thought they were actually your most sustained and comic creation because obviously they are cyber beings.
Indeed.
In a different form, but I like the fact that they are cyber-gents, and they are gentlemen.
They are gentlemen,
I will
indeed.
delete you, milady.
There was a line about Downton Abbey.
There was at one point, yeah. Maybe we'll work that back in at some stage. Yeah, no top hat and everything. Yeah, it's
Whilst
good
we're
fun.
in full silver.
Oh, absolutely, full top hat and tails. It's great.
Absolutely.
We'll move then finally towards the score. You've been here since the beginning
Yep.
of the Fringe, and you're going to be running through to the end. Had there been any changes, either to text or score, or have you, songs?
No, I don't think they have, I think we had the luxury of doing those work in progresses in Islington, and I think it was after that we were able to go away for a couple of weeks and say, this bit works, this bit doesn't, let's tweak this here and here, with the brilliant Ben, our director, and now it's kind of come full circle. We're really happy with the way it's done. And then, we'll see, when we've finished at the Fringe, we'll see what we want to add afterwards, and because we're hoping to develop further and, look at possibilities of touring, etc., which would be great.
Which is my next and possibly last question, which is really, yes, what's next? Where will you dematerialise to?
Well, indeed, that's to be confirmed. But we are looking. No, we definitely want to continue this project, especially the 50th anniversary year, and we think there's definitely a market there for touring and some London dates. So we're just seeing if people go on our Twitter page at @IneedADoctor_UK, they will get future details. Clearly it does. Yeah, absolutely. No, there will be details to follow, I'm sure.
Do you have a website too?
We do on StormyTeacupTheatre.com. There are some details, but Twitter is our main outlet. But we're also on Facebook and Tumblr as well for people of that persuasion.
So look around and we will find.
Look around and we are there, I assure you.
Now, we're recording this at the Fringe, but there's a good chance by the time this goes out that you will have already been on tour or continuing to be on tour. So I wish you great success. It may be that people have already seen you and, you're storming the West End. Dream on. But seriously, I wish you every success.
Thank you very much.
And I must finally ask then, have you got another show in production or in anticipation?
Not yet. We've been kind of talking over some delicate beginnings of ideas, and we'll keep them under the hat for now and see what happens. Maybe at the end of August we'll start talking about next year.
Certainly an intention to work again, though.
I think so. This has been a great experience and very well received. So we'll see what happens.
Well, Jamie and Jess, thank you very much for talking to me, and I wish you great success.
Thank you
I look
very
forward
much.
to hearing more from and about you in the future.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
I need a man with a pale complexion, wears multicoloured scarves and socks. I'm not a fan of fezzes, but I know that bow ties really rock. I know there's an age
Well, there we are, a second song from I Need a Doctor, the unauthorised Whosical adventure. And my thanks to Jamie and Jess there for talking to me. Do look them up on Twitter or elsewhere. Of course, I have taken that as a Doctor Who musical because, as I said in that discussion, by not talking about something pointedly, you are in fact talking about it. But it's not really a Doctor Who musical in the sense that it's a Doctor Who story being portrayed as a musical, but it is a musical about someone trying to portray a Doctor Who musical. If you understand what I'm saying there, perhaps write that down and look at it later. Well, let's now look at another Doctor Who musical. This one is a fully licensed with the BBC audio story. It's called Doctor Who and the Pirates, and it has a subtitle in the style of a Gilbert and Sullivan operetta, indeed ripping one off, by using the subtitle The Lass That Lost a Sailor, whereas, of course, HMS Pinafore was The Lass That Loved a Sailor. And it was produced by Big Finish, who are a very splendid, excellent professional company that record full cast Doctor Who stories, these are brand new ones, featuring the original casts from the classic era of Doctor Who, featuring members of the cast from the first 8 Doctors' adventures. This is a 6th Doctor adventure, therefore featuring Colin Baker, and is story number 43 if you want to look it up on the Big Finish website. And the thing that's unusual about it is, it's a 4-part audio story, and the 3rd part only is a musical. So it doesn't follow the traditional structure of a stage musical, it just has 1/4 of itself as a musical. And what it's done is it's taken various songs from the Gilbert and Sullivan operetta and rewritten the lyrics. Now, you know my concerns about rewriting lyrics from Gilbert, but it can be done. And indeed, it is often done. And the story is indeed, as it says, a pirate story, but it's more to it than that. There's a parallel. It's in fact the Doctor and his companion, Dr. Evelyn Smythe, talking to a suicidal student and trying to take her mind off things and indeed help her relieve her guilt about the loss of a friend by telling a completely different story, in this case a rather over-the-top romp featuring pirates, which actually turns out to be tragic and sad in its own right. It's an interesting story that mixes rompish, jovial, over-the-top performances, and indeed storytelling, and then is occasionally able to completely subvert that and become very emotional and deep. Well, that's the story. Here's how it's described online. All aboard, me hearties, for a rip-roaring tale of adventures on the high seas. There'll be rum for all and sea shanties galore as we travel back in time to join the valiant crew of the good ship Sea Eagle, braving perils, pirates, and a peripatetic old sea dog known only as the Doctor. Gasp as our Gallifreyan buccaneer crosses swords with the fearsome Red Jasper, scourge of the seven seas, and possessor of at least one wooden leg. Thrill as evil Evelyn, the pirate queen, sets sail in search of buried treasure, with only a foppish ship's captain and an innocent young cabin boy by her side. Marvel at the melodious mayhem which ensues as we sail the ocean blue, and wonder why Evelyn still hasn't realised that very few stories have happy endings. And as I said, it features lots of songs which are reworked Gilbert and Sullivan numbers, and here's a list of them. I Am the Very Model of a Gallifreyan Buccaneer, which is obviously based on the modern Major General song from Pirates of Penzance. An Assassin's Lot from When a Felon's Not Engaged in His Employment from the Pirates of Penzance. I Am So Proud from the Mikado becomes Jasper's Man, Blood on My Hands and the Price We Pay. Also from the Mikado we get The Sun Whose Rays, which is metamorphosed into I Am Alone. From HMS Pinafore we get a medley of We Sail the Ocean Blue and I Am the Captain of the Pinafore with I'm a Better Sailor Far Than You. From the Mikado again we get I Claim My Perjured Lover Nanky Poo for the song Enter Evelyn. That's followed by 2 songs, Evil Evelyn and For I Am a Pirate King, which is obviously from the Pirates of Penzance, based on the Pirate King song. And finally, The Threatened Cloud Has Passed Away from the Mikado, which is finally transmogrified into The Dawning Day. So that's 9 songs in a half-hour episode. And if you're interested in Doctor Who and the Pirates, which was released originally in April 2003, it's still available on the Big Finish website, so do pop along there. Their website, simply www.bigfinish.com. Well, that was Doctor Who and the Pirates. And now for those 2 mini YouTube musicals which I mentioned earlier. They are produced by a company called AV Byte. That's AVBYTE, which describes itself as a YouTube channel that makes weekly musical videos and is run by the brothers Antonius and VJ Nazareth. And a couple of talented chaps they are too, as you'll see if you go to the website. What seems to happen is people make a suggestion or they come up with an idea for a musical, and over the course of the next week they write it, film it, edit it, and then publish it. And then they start over again. Luckily, many of their fans, and they do have a large fan base, are also Doctor Who fans. And a while ago suggested that they might like to have a crack at writing a Doctor Who musical. Published on the 29th of October 2012, Doctor Who the Musical, with an exclamation mark to prove that it is a musical, is described online in this way. Regeneration leads to a new skin, a new chance, and new adventures for this singing and dancing Doctor. Wouldn't it be cool if the 12th Doctor could sing and dance? Here he is, singing about adventure, Daleks, Slitheenes, Autons, and more. And he even unmasks a weeping angel in Times Square. This musical lasts only 3.5 minutes and features 2 actors. Travis Slavin, I hope I pronounced his name correctly, who plays Doctor Who, really very magnificently, and Elizabeth Oldak, who plays his unnamed companion. As I said, the original music and lyrics are by Antonius Nazareth, and it's directed and edited by VJ Nazareth. Go and have a look at it online. I'm particularly keen with the chorus, which goes something along the lines of, I'm the Doctor who comes to save the day from a planet and time far, far away. Just the Doctor who moves through time unseen in my wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey machine. And that gives you a sense of fun, which I think is so important in Doctor Who anyway. But the great thing about AV Byte is they not only produce their musicals, they also do making of episodes, so you can find out how they recorded it, and they also do listener feedback, so you can find out what other people thought of it. And pleasingly, other people thought a lot of it, so Doctor Who the Musical merely became the first in a series. So far, there's only been a 2nd episode, but we're all hoping for more. That sequel is called Doctor Who and the Dalek Companion, the Musical. Incidentally, no exclamation mark this time. I don't understand either. That was published on the 18th of March this year, with the following blurb. Can Doctor Who and a Dalek make friends? Is it possible? What do you think? Can enemies become friends? Also, find the hidden message. Starring Travis Slavin as the Doctor and a Dalek. Once again edited and directed by VJ Nazareth, it has music and lyrics by Antonius Nazareth and Elizabeth Oldak. There we are, the companions become one of the lyricists and composers. They're both absolutely wonderful little vignette Doctor Who bite-size, which is appropriate given the name of the company, musicals. And I strongly recommend you have a root through the many, many musicals which are on the AV Byte website. Remember, that's AVBYTE on YouTube. Well, recently I took the time to show Doctor Who the Musical and Doctor Who the Dalek Companion to Tim Saywood, and we went on to discuss both of those and also Doctor Who musicals in general, trying to find out why actually there hadn't really been a proper Doctor Who musical that people would recognise as such. So let's hear that discussion. Musical talk. Well, we've just watched in succession 2 sort of bite-sized mini Doctor Who musicals produced by the YouTube channel AV Byte.
Yes.
And their
Hence
particular
the bite size.
Yes, and their particular gimmick is that they actually write a musical and film it and publish it pretty much every week.
Yes.
Which is why they're only about 3 or 4
They make a video
minutes.
every week. Yeah, exactly.
And then they also make a behind-the-scenes video as well, so they keep themselves busy.
They do.
And 2 have been about Doctor Who.
Yes, that's right, in this last year. Neither of them sadly featuring Miranda Sings, although I think they did finally track her down and get her into one of their videos. But yes, these are Doctor Who the Musical and Doctor Who and the Dalek Companion or something like that. Charming. I mean...
you hadn't heard or seen these before?
No, that's right. And they're very talented. It seems to be a couple of guys who do the main sort of production part of it. And one of them's does the music and composes the music, I'm guessing, and the other one does a lot of rather impressive CGI and camera work, including a full CGI Dalek and a full CGI TARDIS, of which some of the fan-made videos of Doctor Who would be... Yes, chomping at the bit to get hold of. Yes, I should think.
Yeah. Well, it fooled me, I have to say, when I saw the TARDIS in the street in America, because it filmed in America because they are American, I actually thought it was a proper prop.
I did too, yeah, I must admit. Yes, filmed in New York. They weren't very lucky with their weather, though. They do seem to have filmed the first one during Hurricane Sandy and the second second one during
Freak snowstorm.
a freak snowstorm in the middle of March.
And they do like to do stuff in the studio, as it were, inside as well as outside. They really do like to do sort of... there's a lovely scene in the very first one where our new Doctor character, basically he's walking down Times Square, I think.
He is. And he's just regenerated, and he chances upon a companion, and there's this, it's a single song, really. I mean, a musical would be perhaps an exaggeration, but a very short musical.
It's 3.5 minutes, the first one, which, as you say, is the introductory one in this series of so far of two, although they are promising more. And as you say, it starts with a Doctor stumbling out of a TARDIS and immediately regenerating into the character who then plays the Doctor in both of these, and he's ostensibly, at the time of the recording, which was 2012, a 12th Doctor, which is the next one along.
Yes.
So they weren't looking to emulate, but I was getting a lot of 10th Doctor references.
Yes.
Long coat and Alonzia clues there, I think.
Yes, I think so, yes. Very similar. Although a much posher accent. Not the actor's native one, it has to be said. But,
well, he's an American singer, isn't he? The actor-singer.
Yeah.
But he's attempting a British accent.
Yes.
With some success.
But we're definitely more in
the
the
world
world
of Dick Van Dyke territory.
No, we're more in the world of Rex Harrison, I would say,
Yes.
actually, and but not very much in the world of David Tennant, which is the last, the two those Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant both didn't really have received pronunciation accents.
Oh, that's true, actually.
Whereas Matt Smith did, I suppose, but
or closer to, at least. Yes.
But not quite the Edwardian brogue of this young gentleman, but very enjoyable. And the second one actually was my favourite, which was where he gets together with the Dalek, and they, well, I don't know, no spoilers or anything, guys, but they attempt to befriend one another, or he attempts to befriend the Dalek, and in a song that I thought was very reminiscent of, or certainly came out of the stable of Lerner and Lowe.
And once again, the Rex Harrison, there was a sort of kind of almost Sprechsanger
yes.
opening to it, at
Yes,
least.
I thought so. And lots of sort of, smart rhymes and stuff like that. So
yes, Reciprocate and Exterminate was a fairly jolly one.
Good one. Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about them in succession. Now, the first one, as you say, only 3.5 minutes. Now, you described it as one song. In my head, I think of it as, yes, it's sung through, but I detected 2 or 3 songs.
Yeah, okay.
So I suspect sequences in one song is a better way of doing it. Yeah. I quite like the Doctor meets this woman. He's walking through Times Square saying, "Here I am, the new Doctor. All I need is a companion." He bumps into a woman who is obviously destined to become his companion. So he takes her on a whirlwind tour of New York,
yes,
showing her various sites.
2 bits of New York.
Yes, but he is basically he's trying to show off that he's got a time machine, and he sings this song called "My Wibbly Wobbly Timey Wimey Machine,"
yes.
which is actually sort of very upbeat and jolly and tuneful.
It's good. It's very well orchestrated. I mean, considering they do all this stuff with a couple of computers, and it sounded very plausible indeed. I've certainly had a lot of musical theatre demos, and they're not usually as well produced as that.
So, I mean, looking at the first one, then overall, what was its strengths? What was its weaknesses?
Very well sung, that first one. Although a little bit of sort of uncertainty about some of the melody lines and stuff like that. Very strong singing, though. Very good singer, as the Doctor. I found that one slightly less witty than the one that they then went on to do afterwards. So I suppose that was that. That was one of them.
I got the impression that's because they weren't actually Doctor Who fans before they were sort of
they
commissioned
really
by their own fan base as musical writers to do it. So they had to swat up in a week on getting on for 50 years worth of television history.
Yes, exactly.
So in a way, it felt like an attempt to make a greatest hits of the iconic phrases and looks and feels.
Yes.
So we got all that, and as you say, that in a way didn't leave much time for a plot, because in terms of plot, or indeed progression, it was, I've regenerated, I need a companion, oh, you're a woman and you seem to be friendly, let me tell you what you can do, and then they sort of wander off, really. Yeah. So there is no narrative of sense.
There's not much conflict in the story.
There isn't. I mean, as you say, technically brilliant. I mean, all pre-recorded and then mimed to in the street, of course.
Yes. Yes, well, I think they may have possibly used the backing tracks as far as I can see, and then they seem to have post-dubbed the vocals from watching the behind-the-scenes video, which is an interesting way of doing it, and seemed to work very well, actually. A little bit Les Mis style, where they sang it live on the set, and then I suspect redubbed some of it.
Yes,
afterwards.
Of course. There must have been moments like Mamma Mia. I suspect there must have been a certain amount of dubbing occasionally.
Yes.
So they set the scene, and they were, in a way, very, because they're very enthusiastic in their behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Which is actually very enjoyable and engaging in their own way. they've obviously, well, they confessed that having swatted up and then made their own little 5-minute version, they've become fans.
Yes.
And so much so that they actually, like the original series, have then gone on to make a sequel with a promise of more. So let's move on to...
So the second story, as in real Doctor Who, it features the Daleks, or a Dalek at least. Yeah,
so it does here, yes.
This one I enjoyed a lot because it had the... Well, basically, it was the old enemies deciding whether they'd be better off as a team, which is very musical theatre in one level, and not at all Doctor Who, but quite amusing.
Well,
in that
actually,
way.
it's more of a Master story. I mean, Master stories often revolve around
the two of
the
them
Doctor
having
and
to-
the Master having to work together at the end.
Yes.
Very rarely in a Dalek story. Yes.
Yes, it's not so often this, but
And this I thought was much more of a one-song musical.
Yes.
I mean, it is the Doctor is cornered in a corridor, splendidly.
That's right.
The Dalek is
That's-
about to give him
so often is.
what's called a Dalek what for, i.e.
Yes.
an extermination. But the Doctor sits down with the Dalek and tries to persuade them, or him, that,
Yes.
or it,
Yes.
that they should be friends, as you say, forge a new working relationship.
Yes.
Through this Lerner and Lowe style.
Yes, that's right. Sort of an enthusiast song, and of course the dynamic of the thing is one person trying to persuade the other, so it works very well as a drama. And there's some good comic moments in
You
it.
called it
where the
witty. What aspects were witty for you?
Well, I suppose the fact that he's trying to train the Dalek not to explain. It's very difficult, isn't it, to explain why something's funny?
Yeah. Well, but they forgive me. There's one line where the Doctor has set up a rhyme where the obvious rhyme is exterminate.
Yes.
And then he sings the
He
opening of the
extends
second line,
yes.
encouraging the Doctor to say it in order to make the song work. So that's
right,
a nice
yes.
sort of stepping out.
Yeah.
And then, of course, once the Dalek gets into it, then the Dalek offers up alternatives to exterminate, which were reciprocate,
Yes,
etc.,
exactly.
etc.
No, it was a nice piece, and they went out and filmed on the streets of New York or of Brooklyn, I'm not sure where, and under subway tracks and stuff like that.
Where there was no snow.
Where there was no
presumably.
snow, which was
Yes.
the thing that was plaguing or bedeviling their filming that day. It was rather nice to see
We had a curious-
CGI Dalek wander around. We've had the Daleks take Manhattan already, of course, but
In the original series, yes.
that's right.
It
And now
has-
they're taking the Bronx too,
they get a Bronx cheer for that, do they? It
or
must be.
Brooklyn. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where it was.
There was an interesting disparity, though,
Last
because
exterminate.
hey, very good.
Last exterminate in Brooklyn.
The Dalek in the sets, i.e., in the internal building, was a put together cardboardy Dalek, quite an impressive one, but
Yeah.
clearly knocked together and not quite matching the original
finesse.
blueprint, shall we
Yes.
say? And yet the CGI Dalek, which was walking along with the Doctor, rolling along with the Doctor in the street, was pretty much a perfect model.
I
So
know.
the Dalek
If they-
upgrades in the street.
If they actually put that together themselves on CGI from scratch, I'm very impressed.
I
Although I
don't-
can't believe there aren't a few models floating
Yes.
around on the internet.
But all in all, great fun, and I'd certainly be wanting to see more in that series.
Yes, I'd appreciate to see a few more Doctor Who musicals. There've been no really artistically successful attempts at a Doctor Who musical. I think it's fair to say.
That's
To
fair.
date. Well,
mean-
that's my view anyway.
I mean, if I were to ask you off the top of your head, what do you know about Doctor Who musicals?
I know of the Pirates, which was a Big Finish
Big Finish
musical,
audio?
audio only, which was mainly to Sullivan's music, I think, and then rewritten Gilbert lyrics. If I
Yeah. And
remember
only
correctly.
in episode 3.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It has, in fact, I must say, I think it has one of the funniest thing in that particular 4-part story is because the Big Finish audios replicate Doctor Who as was in the original series in the
Yes.
60s, 70s, and 80s. I.e., it's got cliffhangers.
Yeah.
Is that the cliffhanger to the end of episode 2 is the Doctor threatening to sing. You get an instrumental piece of opening music, he draws breath, and then his companion says, "You're not going to, are you?" And he says, "Yes, I am going to sing." I mean, it cuts into the theme tune, which is actually a really
Moments of
witty piece
extreme
of...
danger.
Yes.
Colin Baker's about to sing, which I believe it is Colin Baker, isn't it? And of course we know...
And
of-
Colin can sing, incidentally.
Indeed, we know of the Ultimate Adventure, which was a 1980s, I think,
Yeah, late
stage
80s.
production, yes, which starred both John Pertwee and then later Colin Baker, and then I think on one memorable, or perhaps not so much occasion, David Banks, who was the understudy, went on. He
was the understudy who had been playing a mercenary
That's
who
right.
worked with the Cybermen. That's
but,
right.
but he had to go on as the Doctor one day, and I don't know what the audience made of that night.
Well-
Due to the indisposition of Mr. Pertwee,
Yes.
massive groan goes up.
Probably. Although, in fairness...
Probably played by David Banks. Who? They all said at once.
Oh, he's the cyber leader on the television
Oh,
programme.
him, yes, okay. I think they should have used Faith Brown.
But you
myself.
didn't see it, did you?
I never saw it, no. I never saw it at the theatre.
It only had 3 songs in it, so it's not really
it wasn't
a
even a
musical.
proper whoosical, as one
It
might
was
say.
not. But one must say that whilst the songs were perfectly adequate, the audience didn't want to see songs.
No.
Particularly, I think the first one was a love song between the boy companion and the female companion.
Yeah.
And you could hear a certain amount of
it was John. Just give
shuffling.
John Pertwee enough time to change his cape.
Yeah, I should think so. And have a cup of tea.
Yes.
So, plus the two we've just seen, and I Need a Doctor, which was something I saw in Edinburgh this year.
There's never, as I say, I said that I hadn't known of an artistically successful one. I obviously didn't see that one, so I'm sure it was brilliant. But I wonder why that is. The two worlds have never really successfully collided. Is it because they just basically partake of very different conceits? Because famously there was a very successful Buffy the Vampire Slayer musical episode, which managed to wind in the fact that it was a musical into the plot.
And the same is true of Scrubs, although a different series. A woman she had a clot on the brain, which made her think that everyone talking to her was singing in song, which allowed the half-hour episode to be done as a musical.
Yes,
and therefore, once again, there was a good narrative reason.
And you've got the Dennis Potter-esque things, which was a similar sort of concept, basically.
But I think, do you not think it would just be put? Doctor Who is so fantastical. The ironic thing is, if you pull too much at the thread of that, i.e. then we go into the planet of the musical, you'd actually go too far. You have to suspend disbelief.
Because I mean, most of the Buffy musical episode and the Scrubs one you've mentioned, they excuse it being a musical by some sort of altered perception, or some sort of supernatural work. In the case of the Buffy one, altered perception is quite a big feature of Doctor Who, and people might sort of imagine all sorts of things. But there is a sort of whimsicality to musicals which perhaps would fit more with the new series than it would with the older series. Yeah, I'm not sure they would have gotten away with it so far. Of course, the other way to do it is diegetic music, and to do it all Kander and Ebb style, and to have the songs as in Cabaret, as if they were taking place.
You mean the Doctor chases the Daleks around a musical whilst
possibly,
Dan Leno comes on and does on Mother Kelly's doorstep?
Well, they did the Daleks Take Manhattan, which we talked about before. There is, in fact, quite a big musical number. I don't think we get the whole thing, but it certainly features.
It is set in It's set in a vaudeville theatre, isn't it?
It is
in America.
Yes.
And I suppose we do have to take a step outside Doctor Who.
Saying the Daleks didn't sort of, gently float down the stairs in much after the manner of Angela Lansbury and Mame. Well,
actually, sorry, let's go back to the original series. There's at least one story where the narrative is driven by a voice off singing a song. The Ballad of the Last Chance Saloon, which is Doctor and the Gunfighters.
Famously sung by Linda Barron, Nurse Gladys Emanuel, as was.
Who's one of the very few actors who's been in the original series and the new series.
Oh, right. What was she in the new series? I've forgotten.
In the closing time episode, where the Doctor gets a job in a department store, she's one of the fellow shop assistants who's rather taken that she thinks he's a gay man.
That's right. Yes, and then she was Captain Rack in an episode
Enlightenment.
we both know called Enlightenment.
But in the Gunfighters, every episode has the plot is explained and how it's been developing by this, I have to say, somewhat interminable song. That's a very rare feature in the 60s. That's when the series was not.
Well, I suppose let's think about. The musical world of Doctor Who was, for most of its life, was a sort of a strange collection of radiophonic noises, wasn't it?
It's a soundscape series.
Soundscapes and atmosphere and things like that. And of course, it's absolute anathema to the strong melodic sort of motifs of musical theatre. So I suppose
it's music concrete in some sense.
The Tristram Carey stuff was the very early stuff. Yeah.
And he's an incidental musician for it.
Indeed.
I'm just going to say that it's funny you should say that. I used to know someone who watched Doctor Who in the 60s and 70s, and we used to talk about it. And I remember him saying, in the 60s, it was the most amazing programme because, as a child, he said no other programme sounded like it.
Yes.
Which is something that's not with the series anymore.
No, it doesn't sit in the world of the orchestra and of the sort of I suppose there was even in the brief period in the sort of 80s again when it sort of tried to sound like had a more pop type of sound, which was mainly by this composer of the time, Keff McCulloch. It still didn't really go there. Kind of yes, it sort of went there, but it sort of didn't really. No. It's the music was there more to serve the story, and we haven't had much singing. Maybe someone will crack it one day. I reckon it'll be some sort of alien race that can only express themselves through song or something like that.
But do you not think actually we might go back to the
Russell T Davies should have done it.
He's the man who was going to if anyone did. Yeah. But do you not think that actually I think the way we'll get a Doctor Who musical writ large will be a modern version of The Ultimate Adventure. It will be a stage show, and then they'll put songs in it that way.
Quite possibly, yeah. I mean, Doctor Who and the stage, again, they have a very weird relationship. One of the reasons I've never was desperately interested in seeing The Ultimate Adventure is because I'd heard about the Seven Keys to Doomsday, which was a theatrical production of Doctor Who back in the 60s.
Back in the 70s.
Was it the 70s? I do beg your
74.
pardon. Trevor Martin played the Doctor in that, and he sort of called his companions out of the audience. Was the gimmick? They were plants, obviously. They were just
proper
actors.
yeah.
Yes, it sort of crashed. It's a sort of crashing together of the world of the Italia Conti and I suppose Bonnie Langford, who of course was in Doctor Who, with a series that, as a very serious young, child, I always felt that it just really didn't belong. I was interested in musicals and I was interested in Doctor Who, but I think I would have cringed if the two had come to anything that smacked of the two come together. I think I used to cringe at.
It's funny because it's really strange. Doctor Who succeeds in its world of fantasy by adopting an attempt at realistic acting.
You're sort of supposed to believe in it, as you say. That perhaps you can, as you say, perhaps you can accept 1 or 6 impossible things at once, but perhaps for people to sing would be a 7th, and that would be the end
7th key to doom.
It would be the 7th key to doomsday, and yes, indeed, it would. It wouldn't work. Someone will do it though. Someone will crack it one of these days. Don't know who.
But there is that side parallel because John Nathan Turner, who was the producer of Doctor Who in the 80s, at Christmas used to go off for several years and run Doctor Who pantomimes, which would have had songs and featured.
He press ganged half the Doctor Who cast into
Peter
them,
Davison and then Colin Baker.
Anthony Ainley as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was Baron Hardup.
He was. That's right. Yes, that's right. Again, there was that.
I didn't see any of those, so I have no idea.
Who do we know who's a good singer? Because you don't really get to hear them sing in Doctor Who. Who do we know who is a good singer from Doctor Who? I mean, obviously Bonnie Langford was in the original cast of Cats,
and there's no doubt that she's a good singer.
Yes.
Well, there's a Arthur Darvill, who plays Rory, not only writes musicals because he's had a musical on in London just recently, but he's appearing in Once, I believe, on Broadway.
Oh, okay, there we are. So there's a little bit of a crossover there. But yes, it's only recently that I think we've seen. Oh, John Barrowman, of course.
Who started in musical theatre and made his way into Doctor Who.
Yes, that's right. And now made his way back out into musical theatre, as far as I can see, and into dancing. Yes, he's a bit of a triple threat, isn't he?
And it must be said that John Pertwee used to appear on session song recorded. I've got, believe it or not, I've actually got some operetta, not by Gilbert and Sullivan, but it's the Lionel Monckton stuff.
Right.
And he's recorded some of the songs from those as part of cast recordings.
Oh, okay.
Not cast recordings, session cast recordings.
I've got another one for you. Peter Davison, who's appeared in Chicago and was in Legally Blonde, the musical.
Yes, I saw him in Legally Blonde.
In fact, he was also King Arthur in Spamalot for a while.
But he always gets cast in the roles that aren't singing.
Is that right?
Because he's King Arthur, which I believe is the principal non-singing role.
I see.
And he's the senior lawyer.
Was he not? He wasn't Billy Flynn, then I'm guessing, in Chicago. He must have been someone else.
I don't know he was in.
Not sure. I've not heard him sing.
He might have been Mr. Cellophane, of course.
Yes, quite possibly. Yeah. Yes.
But yes, you're right. He's been in musicals, but I don't. Although he does sing, because he famously co-wrote and sang the theme tune to Button Moon.
He did
with his then wife,
a great
Sandra
musical
Dickinson.
theatre classic, I'd like to say.
You wait till Button Moon the movie turns up.
Yes, the stars and the musicals not always coming together in quite this way. Except, of course, famously, it was Nichelle Nichols, who played Hoorah in Star Trek, who I think recorded a very operatic version of that theme tune, where she went all squeaky at the end.
She did the vocal voice underneath.
I can't remember the lyrics, but then why would I want to?
There's barely a theme tune on television that wouldn't be made better by having an ethereal voice singing very high.
Yeah. No, it still makes my toes curl, the whole thought.
Yes. Right, so that's a thumbs down for Doctor Who musicals then.
This one on YouTube was pretty good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Musical talk. Well, that was Tim Sayward talking about Doctor Who musicals in general. And as you can see, I think the theory is that Doctor Who is already so fantastical that you cannot push that envelope in a different direction. The suspension of disbelief that musicals need, which is of a different order and different type. We could be wrong. Let's find out. If you've got several £1 million to spare, why don't you make a Doctor Who musical? And good luck. Well, that's it for this week. Remember, next week we'll be looking at Doctor Who, The Ultimate Adventure, the show which is recognised as being the most like a musical in the Doctor Who world. And I'm delighted that we'll have a chance to hear from Stephen Edis, the composer, and from Jason Haigh-Ellery, who was the director when it was recently adapted for a Big Finish audio. But for the time being, that's it for this week. My thanks to Jamie and Jess, who we spoke to earlier, for letting me play some of their songs, and it's one of those songs from I Need a Doctor that we'll be playing out with tonight. So until next time, or if you do have a passing police box which allows you to transcend time and space itself, then probably almost immediately, I'll say goodbye. Goodbye.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, put all of your fears to rest. There is a doctor in the house, and that doctor is me. Don't be scared if you don't recognize this doctor standing here before your eyes. Don't be worried, just follow me, 'cause all the things that you can do, I can. Leave behind your routine, all that's far too real. Come find a dream world you can really feel. Protect the girl, save the world, it's so easy when you know how. I am a doctor, and a doctor will see you now. This ain't some simple little fantasy, so let's find somewhere that feels new and free. We'll encounter pirates, monsters, and even dinosaurs of all sizes. Together we can go out in space, and maybe we can find a better place. Not just some loser or disappointment anymore. I am a doctor who'll make you better than before. I'm never running out of time. All of time and space is mine. All the worlds are calling. So let's take a look out there. Maybe Earth is somewhere you can't leave, but why waste time living in make-believe? Why worry about tomorrow when you can escape today? I am a doctor, and I'm gonna fly away.
This episode of Musical Talk, produced and edited by Thos Ribbits. Copyright Musical Talk 2013, except for the songs, where the copyright persists with the creators.